Top of the mountain to all of you. I am Colby with backpackinggrub.com, and in today's video we're hiking the Superstition Mountains. In this backpacking trip, we're doing just an overnighter weekend trip, and we are starting at Peralta Trailhead, and we're going all the way to Barge Springs. I'm taking my oldest son, who is 14 years old, and this will be one of his longest hikes he's done. So we'll see how this goes. There's a few ways to do this backpacking trip. You can go on Dutchman Trail to Bluff Springs and then out to Barge Spring, and then past that would be Charlie Boy Spring. But we are going to take the steep route, which is going on Bluff Spring Trail all the way into Bluff Spring, where there is a lot of backpacking camping spots, a lot of places to set up tents by Bluff Spring. But we're going to continue on after that and go to Barge Spring. Bluff Spring is about a 4-mile in, and then you go the extra 2 miles to get to Barge Spring. And if you want to go even further, Charlie Boy Spring is probably another 1.5 miles after that or so. So we're off a little bit early today just to get a jump on the sun. Sometimes the weather will say 50 degrees. When that sun comes out, 50 degrees, 60 degrees, you can be sweating up a storm if you don't get ahead of it. This is a backpacking trip I've done before, but I'm excited to take my son on it. Hopefully we'll grab a good spot, a good campfire, have a good night's sleep, good food, of course. I'm trying out a new meal. Can't wait to show you guys what it is. It's a new company that we are carrying on our website called Kettle. And if you're like me, I always get excited about dinner time and what I brought, and I like to try new meals. Sometimes you get stuck on the same old ones and you keep eating the same one over and over, even though you love it. After a while, I've been burnt out on some of the things that I initially love, and then over time, you eat it and you eat it and you eat it and you kind of kill it. So it's good to try new things, find new favorites. And so I invite you to try new meals on your backpacking trips. We're about 3 miles in already, but I did the intro video out here because the trailhead is nuts. And so just trying to get away from the people, all the crowds, which we've done. We haven't seen anybody yet out here. But as the day goes on, it does start to get more crowded. Even out here, when you get 6, 7, 8 miles out, they start coming in more and more people. We get going a little bit early so we can make sure we get a campsite we like. And usually people come filtering in. Even if you're solo backpacking out here in the winter, there's usually people out here, so there's not too much to fear if you're going to come out here by yourself. I do it all the time, and I end up hanging out with people sometimes that I've never met before and become friends with. So it's a great place to solo backpack as well, because there's usually other people around out by. I call it the Charlie Boy Spring Corridor, because that's where most of the springs and water is, so a lot of people backpack out there in the winter, especially if it's been super dry. Although there are some puddles. I'll show you some of these puddles that have built up because we did have rain yesterday. First time we've had rain in a long time, probably 6 months, where it's been enough to actually cause some puddles. But the washes, as you can see, I'm sitting in one right now, bone dry, but when we get to the spots where there's a rock bed, it'll pool up. And so there's some cool areas along the trail to check that out. So come along, we'll take you along. We'll show you our tent, our setup, our dinner, all that's to come, but we appreciate you joining us. We've made it to Bluff Spring. There's a popular camp spot right here by this tree. You can see there are some people there. The spring is actually right up in those trees, right up in this area here in the trees. You just hike up in that area and you'll see there's a pipe coming out with a little bit of water trickling out. And so if you do camp at Bluff Spring, it's sort of a prairie, not a whole lot of trees. You can go down into the wash and hang out in the wash if you want by the trees, but It's a little barren, not my favorite place to camp, but it's only 4 miles in from Peralta on Bluff Springs Trail, so it's a great place to come if you're looking for just a little quicker hike. We've made it to Barge Springs. Here it is. It's a beautiful little spring. It's hidden up here in they feel like rose bushes. They're prickly and they're vines, but nice and cool up here. We got a really great flow. We're gonna, probably don't need to filter it, but we have filters. We're gonna go ahead and do it. Whew, what a day of hiking. The sun's finally dipped. It's cooling down out here in the Superstitions. And dinner is always the most exciting part for most of us. So tonight I've got from Bowling Kettle chicken tikka masala, and for fun I also brought the naan bread. And so the naan bread is a little additive. I like to spice things up and give you guys more ideas on how to make your meals even better. This one is delicious. I've already had a few bites, so I'm going to show it to you when we mix it up here. You can see the chunks of chicken, the yellow rice. We're gonna add that naan bread in there. So there we go, putting in the naan bread and stir that around a little bit. And man, check that out. Looks delicious. Here we go, bon appetit. Oh yeah. First time trying this one. And let me tell you, this tastes like legit restaurant food. Like if you ordered this at an Indian restaurant, they brought it out with rice and everything and you put it on there. It's a little spicy, so just know that. If you're not a spicy person, you may shy away from this one. Not a lot of spice. It's not overpowering, but it is there. The chicken is actually the best chicken I've ever had in a freeze-dried meal. It tastes like the chicken was marinated and then grilled over a fire. Like you can taste the grill marks almost within that chicken. Best chicken I've ever had in a meal. So I think this one's definitely worth picking up if you like Indian food, especially tikka masala like I do. I order it every time we go eat Indian food. The only thing I believe I am missing is a mango lassi. But other than that, this is legit Indian food. And you know, I'd take it with me again for sure. Well, I'm gonna finish eating this and we're about ready to start the campfire. And then after that, we've got some movies to watch in the tent and then we're going to bed. All right, welcome to camp. We are in the middle of the desert, but look at these huge trees, lots of cottonwoods because we are near Barge Springs. But here's what camp looks like. We've got the fire going. We've already eaten dinner. Want to show you what we have going on over here with our tent. This is the Nemo Dagger 2-person. Backpacks we're using is the Flash 55 for both me and Owen. We'll give you a sneak peek right inside of the tent. And we use Nemo Discos. I'm a huge fan of the Nemo Disco sleeping bag. And so that's what we're using, Nemo Disco 15s. And there you go. Another view of the camp. We've got trees. We can hang our food tonight because there are local skunks that run around and we see the skunks almost every time we come out here, but they keep the rodents down. So I'm okay with skunks as long as they don't spray me. You smell them every once in a while, but it's not a big deal. It's a part of backpacking out here in the Superstitions. Well, good morning. We packed up early this morning and hit the trail pretty early, just because the longer you wait in the desert, that sun comes up And we're about 1.5 miles into our hike back to the car. And it was a great night. The winds died down. It was super calm all night. We did get quite a bit of condensation. So this morning I just packed the tent wet and I'll just have to dry it out when I get home. Also just wanted to get you guys an update on how that Indian food I had from Bowel and Kettle, the chicken tikka masala, settled last night. Because sometimes a little bit wary of bringing Indian food on a backpacking trip and having all those spices and stuff. And honestly, I had the best night's sleep I think I've ever had backpacking. That was a big meal. It filled me up, but it was a really good night. So I know you're wondering, did I have to dig a cat hole at 3 a.m.? The answer is no. It settled great. I feel great today. So that just kind of confirms I'd bring that meal again. It was awesome. It was pretty cold last night. It probably got down right at 32 degrees, not much more than that, which is pretty good. That's pretty normal out here. It's usually about 10 degrees colder, I've found, down in the canyon out here in the Superstitions versus like in Phoenix. And so you could kind of gauge like what's Phoenix, drop 10 degrees at least from there, and that's probably what you'll encounter out here. We got that condensation mainly because we had a lot of rain yesterday. It hasn't rained in like 6 months, like a good rain to get the ground wet. And so out here in the Superstitions, if you put your tent down in a spot that looks a little bit damp, most likely you'll get condensation overnight because it gets pretty chilly and then everything kind of wets out. Luckily we had a double wall tent though, so it wasn't a big deal. We had a couple of gusts of wind pull through right around 6 a.m., which kind of whipped the fly around a little bit and got the mesh wet, but it didn't really come through. Luckily, the mesh is super tight and it keeps the water beaded up on the mesh. But we had a great time, a great campsite. We're gonna keep hiking back. We're just taking a little break right now. But this has been a great trip in here. We're gonna keep hiking back. We've got plans for lunch when we get in. We're gonna go to Bird Call and get a fried chicken sandwich. We're pretty excited about it. We'll do a few more shots and video on the way out of here. So we're gonna put our packs on and keep trucking out of here. We are between Barge Springs and Bluff Springs. We're almost to Bluff Springs. Throwing their packs back on, let's get going. Right, we've got Weaver's Needle in the distance there. Really cool shot of it. This is Weaver's Needle from the side view. A lot of people don't get to see it from the side because most of the vantage points come from either the front or the back of it, and it looks like one spire. But from the side, you can see it's actually several spires, and a lot of people climb to the top of the big spire there. It's the class 4, low class 5. People do it without ropes. They free climb it and things, but yeah, Weaver's Needle from the side, good vantage point from Bluff Spring. You get to see it, and so it's along the trail. This has been such a fun backpacking trip out here in the Superstition Mountains, one of my favorite places to hike, to explore, to backpack. And we have about 2 miles left to our car. And so we're gonna wrap up the trip here before we get too close to the people. There'll be a ton of people there at the trailhead. We appreciate you guys coming along. Let us know if you have any questions about the backpacking trip we just took. And if you like videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next adventure.